Good morning, my friends. Welcome to week 15 of our school readiness sessions. It's week 4, I believe, of our science sessions. So I'm glad you guys made it. We'll start with our good morning song. So we're going to clap our hands out and we're going to rub them together. All right. Create some friction. This is science happening right here. It's physics. Okay. You ready? Good morning, how are you? How are you? Very well, I thank you, very well, I thank you, and you, and you. Buenos dias, cómo está? Muy bien, gracias, y ustedes. All right, guys, good job. So now's the time, if you haven't, to do your journal activity, right? The journal activity today is drawing a picture of the moon. So you can draw our moon, Luna, right? You could create your own moon. There are many different moons within our solar system. Earth has a moon. Mars has 2. And Jupiter and Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, the gas giants all have multiple moons. So you could draw one like the one we see during the daytime or nighttime here. Or you could create your own moon. It could be whatever color you want it to be. What do you think the moon's made out of, actually? Well, it's definitely not made out of cheese. It's made out of rock, just like the rock you find here on Earth, right? So granite, iron deposits, things like that. Same things you find here on Earth. So draw your moon, and then we'll get started with our day. All right. So today what we're doing, we're going to do a little activity together and make a solution. Some of you may have picked up those Play for All kits. There was a book and different activities in there. One of the things in there was a fly swatter, right? You see my fly swatter is dripping some liquid here, okay? Because I'm going to tell you what we're going to use it for. Okay, and usually you'd use it to defend yourself from some pests, right? Insects, or maybe on a hot day you might use it as a fan, right? But we are going to turn this into a bubble wand, right? As you can see, it has everything we need for a bubble wand. It has a handle, right? A head to collect the bubbles and some holes that you can pass air through, right? And you can see it has some very small holes, right? But what if you don't have any bubble solution? Well, we're gonna make some bubble solution. We're gonna make our own homemade bubble solution using some common household ingredients. Okay? The recipe we're using today is this right here. Let me hold this up for you guys. Now on there it says 6 cups of distilled water, right? And the difference between distilled water and, say, tap water, distilled water has been purified, steamed, recollected, and stripped of any contaminants, also minerals and electrolytes. So if you've ever drunk distilled water, you know it has a very flat, bland taste because it's missing all the things that give natural water, or tap water, its flavor, right? In this case, distilled water does work better because you've removed a lot of different variables, but who keeps distilled water on hand? All right. So tap water works just fine. 6 cups of tap water, right? A half cup of cornstarch, half cup of liquid dish soap. I'm using Dawn over there, right? Dawn, Joy, Dial, dish soap, it all works. I'm using Dawn because I like the color blue, and that's what I have on hand. So that will work just fine. Need a cup, not a cup, a tablespoon of glycerin. The glycerin can be found at a lot of big box stores, medical supply places, anywhere you can get medicine generally. So if you can't find glycerin, you can substitute glycerin with light corn syrup, right? This particular recipe, you would use the same amount, so a tablespoon. But the beauty of homemade bubbles, there are many different recipes you can find online. And I would say just double check that particular recipe might call for a different amount. Okay? The last ingredient on there is a tablespoon of baking powder. Okay, and I underlined it, right? Because baking powder is actually quite a bit different than baking soda. They both have a lot of the same things, but the difference is baking powder or baking soda. We use it in baking. It's kind of heat activated. The heat causes it to release carbon dioxide, and carbon dioxide helps your baked goods rise from the gas being released. Whereas in baking powder, an acid has been introduced to neutralize that base. On the pH scale, baking soda falls on the alkaline side, the base side, and acid introduced helps neutralize that reaction, and it keeps it from needing heat for this specific solution we're making. So it is a solution we're making. A solution involves a solvent, all right? The solvent is predominantly the ingredient that there's more of, in this case, water. And the solutes would be all the other ingredients, because there's a lot less of those. So the solvents are water, the solutes are the baking powder, the glycerin, et cetera, et cetera. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna add them all together and incorporate them. Now, unfortunately through technology, my initial video where I mixed all these together got deleted. So rather than toss out the bubble solution I've already made, we'll go through the steps that I did in making it. So what I like to do first is I like to add the dry ingredients, the cornstarch, right, using a half cup, and the tablespoon of baking powder, right? You can have the baking powder in, use a whisk. I used a whisk to incorporate it, right? And the same with the cornstarch. The cornstarch you want to add slowly, all right? You don't want to dump it in. If you dump it in, you'll get some clumps. Might be hard to work out. Just to introduce it a little bit slower, a little bit at a time, right? And give it a nice big stir with your whisk, spoon, whatever you, a fork. A whisk was working for me, okay? When you incorporate those two ingredients, your water will turn kind of a milky white color. And you may find that the cornstarch doesn't fully incorporate, and that's to be expected, and that's okay. And the cornstarch gives our bubbles a little bit of body, all right? The next, I add the glycerin, all right? I would dump it in. Again, we're giving it a stir, taking our time. The last ingredient I always add is the soap. The reason why is we want to incorporate it slowly. We don't want any bubbles or froth or foam to form on the surface, because it's kind of deters it from coming together. It takes a little bit longer. So we add our soap slowly. This one had my soap in it. You can still see some of that blue in there. Yeah, just get some soap in there. All right, still have a little bit left in this, so we'll add that in as well. All right. And again, we would take that and we would whisk it in slowly, right? So that is all the ingredients it takes to make our bubble solution. And initially you'll find that your solution is kind of a milky blue, sky blue, light blue, different designations, just like that. That's what I got there. And this will work right now. The way it is, it'll work. It'll make bubbles. You may find that they might initially pop a little bit. So we actually want to let this sit for about an hour before we really use it. It tightens up a little bit. You'll find that it'll become a little bit darker blue because the cornstarch that didn't fully dissolve will settle at the bottom. So before you go to use it, you want to give it just like a little stir, get that cornstarch moving throughout the solution. So what we'll do is we'll let it sit, and while it's sitting, we're going to make a bubble wand. Now, our swatter will work just fine the way it is, right? Again, we talked about the parts it needs. You can alter your swatter here. You can make some holes, right? A pair of scissors to cut out some of these areas here to create a larger bubble making surface. But if you want to preserve the integrity of our swatter, we can make our own bubble wand using some common household items. And in fact, what we'll do is we'll make ourselves a giant bubble wand, right? And to do that, you need two things: some string, yarn, right? You need about 5 feet or so, right? And then you need 2 drinking straws, plastic drinking straws, right? Just about everyone has these. If not, you can always get some. What I did is I cut my string, right? And I fed it through one straw, fed it through the other, and then I tied them together, nice little knot, double knotted it. And I stuck that knot down into one of the straws there, leaving me my handles and my bubble surface, my bubble making surface, right? And collect. So to use this, you'll want to use something like a shallow pan. Something that'll let you fully immerse your wand into your bubble solution. So a baking or a cookie sheet will work as well. Just make sure, again, you want to give it just a little bit of a stir before you use it. You definitely want to do this outside if you can, because you'll make a drippy mess with your bubble fun. And then you lay your bubble wand to your solution, and then you just draw it backwards. You can move backwards, right? Reason why you hold it tight, move backwards. That'll help air go through, creating your nice big giant bubble. All right, that's our big giant bubble move. The best days for bubble play and bubble fun are actually colder or cooler temperature, overcast, days without much wind. And the reason why is on a hot day, a sunny day, your bubbles will evaporate quicker. Okay, because a bubble is formed with a thin layer of soap, a layer of water, and then another thin layer of soap on top of that, right? Create your bubble, your surface of your bubble. But wind and the heat will cause that water to evaporate quicker. So if you've ever blown a bubble and let it go, you'll find that something will pop. Well, that's because all the water inside has evaporated. So cooler days, cooler temperatures, days that are still, not windy, those are actually the best bubble days. But you still play bubbles just about any time. All right. So while we let that bubble solution kind of set up again, what we'll do is, so I want to show you guys that it does work. I'm reading a story with you. All right. We've been talking about the planets and the moon. I have a book from my own collection. It's actually my son Desmond. Some of you know him. This is one of his first books. It's still in pretty good shape, actually, because I never let him hold on to it. I would read it to him and then put it away. So this is one of the first books he had, and it's called Berenstain Bears on the Moon. So yeah, parents, you know what I'm talking about. You give your child a book, you may not get it back in the same shape it was in. So Berenstain Bears on the Moon. What part of the book is this? Yeah, it's the front cover. Here. The spine, yeah. Let's see if we can trick you. The back cover, that's right. Good job. So front cover, spine, back cover. Okay. On the front cover, we have this here. That's the title. Good job. Yeah, the title tells us the name of the story. And often on the front cover, you'll find also the name of the author, okay, and the illustrator, okay. The author and illustrator, the author writes the story, right, the words, and the illustrator is the person that draws the pictures. Sometimes it's 2 people, Stan and Jan Berenstain. Sometimes it's just one person does both, right? So if you have this book, go and grab it now, and we'll read it together. All right? Here we go. On the night before the bear's big day, they look at the moon far, far away. How far away is the moon, do you think? That's pretty far. The moon's actually about 400,000 miles away from Earth. It's a really far distance. Then morning comes, today is the day. They'll go to the moon far, far away. They got their suits, they got their rocket with its rocket fuel. These are some very inventive bears. They're ready for action. The crowd counts down the rocket's blast. The way of goodbye, they are off at last. Let's count down with them. Right? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off. Two little bears and one little pup. They're off to the moon, going up, up, up. That's a really fast rocket. Normally it takes astronauts several days to get to the moon from Earth. They look back down, but they can't find their treehouse home. They have left it far behind. Where is their town? It is hard to say. Their town is now far, far away. Look at that, the Earth. Earth is getting smaller and smaller in that window. Now their feet no longer touch the ground. They're out in space, they float around. Two floating bears and their floating hound. So why are they floating? That's right, gravity is missing. They are, once they've left the orbit of Earth, they've also left the effects of Earth's gravity. They're no longer tethered, so they float around. Up ahead, it's a shower. It's a meteor shower. They'll have to go through, turn on more power. Will they get to the moon? They will, they must. Their slogan is, to the moon or bust. You see right there? Yeah, it says to the moon or bust. Behind them, the Earth is now so small, it is nothing more than a small blue ball. The pup begins to wonder when his paws will touch the Earth again. Then up ahead, it's there, the moon. Buckle up tight, we are landing soon. Okay. Got to get back in their seats. Landing, they are landing in a cloud of dust. They said they would, and they said they must. They made it to the moon, and they didn't bust. Very important. Down onto the old moon, they step with pride. Two bears and a pup along for the ride. Gotta get your helmets back on, get your suits. Now the bears have many things to do, but first they look around. They enjoy the view. Look at that. Earth is far away and it's very small. Then they fly their flag. They take moon notes. They collect moon rocks in their moon rock totes. Okay. What are they going to do with those rocks, do you think? Yeah, they're going to study them, experiment. That's how we know the type of rock or the Earth, the moon's made out of. Then they try some jumps high in the sky. Moon jumps almost make you fly. Now, the moon is only about a quarter of the size of the Earth. Therefore, the effects of its gravity are much less. So if you can jump a few feet here on Earth, you jump much further on the moon. It's about a sixth as powerful. So they're taking some big leaps. Now it's time to get behind the wheel and explore the moon in their moon mobile. Two bears in the moon. They're all packed up, ready to go home now. So is their pup. Will their ship lift off? Will the rockets burn? Will the two little bears and their pup return? If the two little bears use all their skill, they will return. They will, they will. Look, they changed. It said to the moon or bust. Now it says to the earth or bust. Some astronaut graffiti there. Two bears and their pup in the rocket ship on the way back home on their back to earth trip. Just a couple more pages, guys. To their friends on the ground, to their house, safe and sound. Yeah, everybody's come out to greet them. Safe back on the earth, they step out of their ship. Wow, say the bears. That was quite a trip. They got a lot done already. They jumped around, they rode their moonmobile, collected moon rocks. Last page. Now they look up at the stars, very, very far away. Will they go up to a star? Well, they may. Someday. Stars are very far away from us. In fact, the closest star is the sun. And that star is about 93 million miles away. It's really, really far. Okay. So that's our story on the moon, Bears Named Bears. Let's check that bubble solution before we do our goodbye song. Let's be sitting for a moment. Let me use our wand to stir it a little bit. You can feel that the corn starts to settle like I said it would. And here's our whisk. It's a little easier. A little easier. Give it a nice stir. All right. It is ready. We're going to do a countdown too, like our bears did in our story. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's see what kind of bubbles we make with this. You ready? Whoa, look at that. I made a big bubble. There it goes. So this does work. This is an effective tool for a bubble wand. We made a giant bubble there. With that giant bubble wand we made, can make an even bigger bubble. Right? So this does work. Our bubble solution is good. All right. Well, let's get our clapping hands out, guys. And we're going to shake them off. You might have got some of that bubble solution on your hand like I did. So we'll do our goodbye song, and then we'll end our day. You guys ready? Goodbye, friends. Goodbye, friends. Goodbye, friends. We'll see you next week. All right, guys. As always, thank you for letting me be a part of your morning. It's the best part of my day. I enjoyed it. We'll see you next week, guys. Stay safe.